Hello, my name is Rich Brown, and today we're exploring why social media, as we knew it, is over. This is the Marketing PowWow.
The QBD podcast.
The Marketing PowWow.
I'm not seeing content from my friends, from the businesses, the brands that I follow. It's showing me things. I'll be honest, it's ruined the social media for me.
People probably don't realise this, just how much all this is already here and how good some of that stuff can be. If you don't appreciate this change that's happening, you're wasting your time and you're probably wasting your money. So you need to change as well. Your business needs to change its approach to social media. Now's the time to get on board with it, because otherwise you're going to miss the boat. Welcome to another episode of the QBD podcast, The Marketing PowWow. Today, I'm joined once again by Liam Maskell, Head of Sales at QBD. And we're diving into one of the biggest shifts happening in digital right now.
And it's not AI.
Yeah, and for once, it's not AI. In this episode, we'll be exploring why most of what you see on social media isn't even from people you follow, and what that means for your business. How to make sure algorithms actually work for you instead of against you. And we'll be looking at the new rules for turning social media activity into real business results. So let's get into the Marketing PowWow.
The QBD podcast.
The Marketing PowWow.
Hi Liam, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me again.
So obviously we got together last week with the rest of our team at QBD, and we went through a lot, it was time to get together. And I presented to the whole team around social media and one of those big shifts, the big shift that's coming. Obviously the things I reported on is that Mark Zuckerberg has almost taken this stance nowadays that social media as we know it is over, and how much it's changing, that the algorithms are really dictating about what you see and that your feed is based on preferences and not people. So I just thought I'd get your take on it really. What were the main stats and the main takeaways from that presentation that I gave that probably hit you the hardest?
Until you did the presentation, I actually didn't realise how social had changed in the same way. I mean, of course, I've noticed that some of the posts are not from people I follow, but you put some percentages up on the slide, and I remember them. It's like 83% of social media content in Facebook is not content that I follow. It's content that Facebook's sending to me, and then Instagram is more like 94%. So I found that absolutely wild that I'm not seeing content from my friends, from the businesses, the brands that I follow. It's showing me things.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So when I came across those stats, we should say it's not like bang on the money. Sometimes it gives you that guide, but it's a pretty accurate guide in terms of, probably between 87% of what you see on Facebook. The term is what you haven't asked for, which I thought was a really interesting way they were putting it. But yeah, as you said, it's content that does not come from people that you necessarily know or connect with. And yeah, it is higher on Instagram. It's probably like 93, 94, 95% of that content that you haven't asked for. That almost like not opted in. Opt-in used to be the term, didn't it, in marketing? And it's not really there anymore. And when I thought about it, I was like, wow, it seemed really high. I suppose that feeling you had, like, that's a lot. But actually, when you think about it, and then you look at your feed again, it's probably about right, isn't it? Yeah,
and I'll be honest, it's ruined the social media for me. I'm actually using it less as a result, because I'm just like, I don't want to see this content. So I think it's really. So what are the things that we can do as a business? Because obviously you're very much, you've been involved in social media a long time. I often joke when we introduce you to some of our clients that what you know about social media, what you don't know about social media isn't worth knowing. So what are some of the things that businesses can do?
I think it's interesting because there's always something happening in our industries, and there's always big shifts. And I often talk to people about that. We've got to really back up what we're saying, because it is a sort of opinion based thing. Although, like I said, there's those stats there. And I think to help people understand, like, how have we got to this position, is probably the first thing for businesses to get their head round.
Definitely.
Because I think people are often guilty of thinking that certain things within social media are sort of fads and they die out, or there's trends and these different things. But this thing is sort of real. It's not just like, today your feed has changed. Like, the whole way that people use social media has completely It's completely changed actually over the last few years.
Well, I remember you quoted a study in your presentation, but I remember when I first started using social media back in oh God, 2008,
Yeah.
2009, still at school.
Yeah.
And you would connect with friends and you would
Poke 'em.
poke people, wasn't it? You know?
Yeah.
It was like,
That's all you can do.
and
Yeah.
then you might play, like there's some silly games, post
Yeah.
on their wall, draw on their wall, whatever. But
Drawing on their wall. Yeah.
social media's changed so much. I mean, tell us more about that study.
Yeah, so the study was done. It was part of some research done with the Financial Times about how people are sort of consuming content, engaging with content overall. And yeah, there was this study done in 2014 which asked people like, why do you use social media? And the sort of top 5 answers were to keep up to date with my friends, to share my opinion, to meet new people, to follow celebrities, and to fill my spare time. Those were the 5, and probably in that order of like the most importance. They conducted the same bit of research 10 years later, so in 2024, and not only have those 5 things flipped completely, that actually the 3 that used to be the top have totally fallen off completely. So if you think about it nowadays, do you go on social media to meet new people? I shouldn't think so.
No, actually, not on a tangent. I think meeting new people is quite a
It's probably shouldn't be on social media to meet new people. People don't tend to go on social media nowadays to share their opinion as much as they used to. Obviously, people still do, but you just think you just trolled and all those things. And then the one that I've said people is, so you think you go on social media to keep up to date with your friends, but like you said, when was the last time you went on any of these social media channels and actually saw much from what your friends are posting? It is about 10 or 15% of what you're seeing is that keeping up to date with friends thing. So those 3, like the social element of social media, is totally gone, really. And what we're left with is to follow celebrities. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I'll follow celebrities. I know you'll follow the people that, you're interested in your golf stuff and those influencers there. So you'll follow celebrities, but it is to fill your spare time. And as we call it, like doom scrolling, really, that you're just there. And it's when I came across that study and when I sort of combined it with those stats that Meta themselves had shared about 83, 84, even 90 odd % on Instagram content that you see you haven't asked for, their term. You think, wow, actually, I don't go on social media to connect with people as much anymore. I am going. It's an entertainment platform. It's not a social media platform.
Yeah,
and it's completely changed.
And I think Zuckerberg has kind of gone out in Congress and actually said it. We're not a social network platform.
Yeah, they're trying to sort of present the fact now. I mean, I was thinking, wow, like in my head, you kind of invented the thing. So how are you not a social media platform? But his sort of stance was that these platforms are evolving. So by no means are we saying social media is over and this is the end of social media. It's just evolved into an entertainment platform, really. And as we mentioned almost at the top of the show, that the content that you're being fed isn't sort of chosen by the people that you connect with. It's about your preferences, because it's the AI that's feeding you this content. So the AI can see that you're interested in golf and whatever it might be. So they're just going to show you more content about that. The fact that someone that you're sort of friends with or connected with on Facebook or Instagram, is putting some pictures up about, I don't know, where I've been on holiday, well, that's not interesting to you, really. That's how they read it. It's like, well, surely you'll be more interested in the stuff that you're interested in. And so that's where that term that's sort of come about is this engagement farm.
Yeah.
You're being engagement farmed all the time because they just want you to stay on the platform. And as we've both said to a lot of people around social media, when you look at social media from the lens of the more time you spend on the platform, the more ads you see, the more money they make. It's as simple as that, really. So it makes sense that of course they want to keep you on their platform. So they are going to just keep showing you content that they think you're interested in, regardless of who it's from. It doesn't matter who it's from. And that's what we mean by this content now is driven by preference and not people. And I think the other term that I know you've sort of used a little bit as well when you've been speaking to people is, these are now almost like discovery engines. They're helping you sort of discover content, and they are looking to help you fill your spare time. And you're just sort of scrolling through content. And it does all come from TikTok, really. When TikTok, really exploded onto the scene, obviously had that big uptake through the pandemic in terms of, people getting on there for the first time. The For You section was people that you're not following. It's just things that you think, And then over time, that's just become the norm feed. You almost had to choose to sort of jump onto the For You feed. Well, the For You feed, as it was coined by TikTok, is just now your feed. And Instagram and all those ones have just had to copy TikTok because it's such a successful model that what you're seeing is, it's not stuff necessarily that you've chosen to see, you've asked to see. It's what the algorithm thinks you're interested in. And they're pretty good at that. They've got a lot of data. They know you're going to be interested in things. And so I think for businesses, you initially, before we get into, and we will get into, what things can you be doing and what role now does social media play in your marketing strategy? I think it really helps people understand this is where we are and this is how we got here. And actually, when you look at it like that, I suppose a bit like that realization you had when I shared those slides, is you think, oh yeah, I think that actually makes sense. Actually, it's real. It's not something that's flipped overnight. This has again been a slight gradual thing that's sort of crept up on us before we know it. And anyone listening or watching to this today, I challenge them to go and look at your social media feed by the end of the day, and even write down how much content do you consume by people you know or are connected with, and how much do you consume by accounts you've never really heard of, but you're sort of interested in it because it's related to your interests. When you've got that, I think then people can understand, okay, I understand why I need to change my social media strategy. So
as businesses, how can we change our strategy? So what are the things that we should be doing?
I think something that we've spoken about in previous podcasts, and I know ones that we will often talk to people about, is around that almost like authenticity element. So there is the other sort of big thing I was going to say on the horizon, but it's already here, is how much AI is influencing that content. So obviously there's content being churned out daily by these AI bots because they want to feed you content that you're interested in because, as we said, it keeps you on the platform longer, so the more ads you see, the more money they make. But also what we found is that, this sort of AI stream of content is infiltrating all platforms. And when I was putting together those slides around it, and obviously it mainly initially focused on Meta because from what Mark Zuckerberg said, and he referencing things like Facebook and Instagram, and those are the ones that people know about. I can already hear people now listening to this podcast thinking, oh yeah, Rich, but I'm B2B, and I'm LinkedIn, so that doesn't bother me. But that is also an issue.
I've noticed a lot of business owners blatantly using AI in their content creation, especially people that you know, and I think it almost devalues them as individuals and their brands because you when you build those real life relationships and then you go online and you say, well, actually, that's not how he would talk. Yeah,
I think it's such a thing that people are missing, and I get it. I get why people are using it, because what ChatGPT say would write for your LinkedIn post, you think, oh, that's better than how I could have said. So you feel like you've improved. But the term I like for this is the rising tide raises all boats. So you think you've got better, but it's everyone else is doing it. Definitely. We're all just at the same level again. So it doesn't really make much difference. What I've been surprised about is how quickly we as human beings have become trained at seeing what is AI content. I thought it'd take us a little bit longer, but you mentioned you can see it a mile off. I was at a networking event this morning, and there was someone that came in and he subbed for one of our normal guests that couldn't, one of our normal members that couldn't turn up, and he read the thing out, and he was halfway through it, and we all started joking in the room because we know both these people were, so we could have a bit of fun with it. It was so obviously written by AI. It was so, the rule of three, it said things in threes and all those sorts of stuff. It was so obviously written by AI. And I'm quite impressed actually with how quickly humans have been able to detect that AI content. However, people are still using AI a lot. And the stat that that I came across when I was doing my research for those slides was around 54% of everything that you now see on LinkedIn has been touched by AI, is the term. So it's not necessarily an AI sort of robot churning the stuff out. As you mentioned, it's real people that want to post regularly on LinkedIn, and they are going to ChatGPT to create their posts for them. So basically, over half of everything you see on LinkedIn has been AI generated, and that again is a problem.
Yes, but I also think it's an opportunity as well, because I mean, we could probably be a little bit criticized for saying that AI is bad. Like we talk about AI, don't use AI to write your content for your website. And you can use it from that idea generation. I think where AI is really good is like what would make it helps you start that
It's a
creative
research
process.
tool. Yeah, yeah.
What would make this social media post that could be really, really boring,
Yeah.
a bit more exciting? But I think it's using it in your tone of voice. And obviously we talk about tone of voice in lots of different ways. But I think the key thing there is like stay in your lane with it. Like don't try and pretend to be something you're
just
not.
talk about what you know and what you really believe
Because
in.
it doesn't help you build those relationships online at all. Or I saw something the other day on LinkedIn where somebody used some image generation where they said they were like on a yacht, and like that person, it wasn't on a yacht, and their parents believed that they were on a yacht, and it's just like
It's. I think the thing that people probably don't realise is just how much all this is already here and how good some of that some of that stuff can be. And again, you get sucked into thinking, well, that's better than I could have done. But if you always think of the rising tide raises all boats, then really you haven't moved much far forwards. I think there is LinkedIn's got a bit of a problem personally, is that if it doesn't, I don't know how you get a handle on it, but if it does keep going up, I said it's over half, 54% of everything you see on LinkedIn at the moment has been essentially created or generated or been influenced by AI. If that keeps going the way it's going, there's just going to be a lot of hollow, bland,
So do you think
meaningless posts out there that people aren't really going to connect with.
Yeah. So do you think people will stop using LinkedIn like in the same way? Because we used to have these like Twitter hours where, and they were fun, they were great.
They were great,
We were
really good
talking
for
like
businesses.
pre-pandemic here.
Yeah.
And they got stale because it was just social media managers and social media scheduling tools talking to one another.
Just churning it out.
So can you see LinkedIn going in the same way?
I can a little bit. I was listening to a podcast when they were saying about, could there be a time when we almost close the door on social media or the internet as a whole and just let AI talk to AI? Because what I mean by that is so at the moment I could get AI to create my LinkedIn post for me. I don't, by the way, anyone listening, I always write my own stuff. But so you can get AI to create your posts for you.
Yeah.
But the other thing that people don't realize is that AI is now being used to engage with your posts. So the likes that you're getting, the interactions you're getting, even the comments that you're getting, not all of it, some of it has been generated by AI. It's an AI. Now, it's not that it's a robot. It's not. I'm not saying it's a robot that it's not a human being that doesn't exist and they're just sort of commenting on your things. There's probably a little bit of that. But what you can do is that, say if I'm looking to connect with more people and say I'm looking to connect with more, it's like sales directors and sales, marketing and head of sales in businesses in Worcestershire, I could just get an AI tool. I'm not just talking like free chat GPT. You get like a proper AI custom built tool to say, right, AI tool, here's my LinkedIn login details, log into LinkedIn. And every time anyone from a certain industry posts something, just comment on it for me. You can see it a mile off, I think. You can get these comments where it will say, it will tag you, Liam, really interesting post about ... And then the next 6 words, they will summarize what you said in your post. Well, AI can do that. So that's another problem that I think that, people that are doing their social media themselves or paying other companies to do their social media, if you don't appreciate this change that's happening, you're wasting your time and you're probably wasting your money, because what that does is it opens up the questions of, okay, so how do we measure the success of AI? If it keeps going the way it's going, and a percentage of even the engagement that you get on LinkedIn is AI generated, it's not even real people engaging with it, and you're tracking how many likes you get or how many followers you've got or how many comments you get, does that become a meaningless stat? I'm not saying it is a meaningless stat, but I'm just posing the question, does that become a meaningless stat? Because as we said earlier, there's still a drive sometimes to like our page, try and get everybody to like your page. It's not going to make them see your posts any more than it used to. So is that a strategy that you need to review? Reporting on your engagement rate and how many likes or how many comments you're getting on your posts. Well, if AI is starting to infiltrate that, does that become a little bit of a meaningless metric to measure? Is that a true reflection of how successful your social media is? And don't worry, we'll come on to the things that you can do around it. But I think, this is such a big thing that's come out of nowhere, really. I don't think a lot of people are realizing that, if you're managing the social media yourself, you're probably wasting your time. And if you're paying someone to do it for you, you're probably wasting your money, because you need to get a handle on what is that strategy and what does social media look like as part of your marketing mix going forwards.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's, we obviously, we know the answers. We're all a bit closer to this. And I think the thing we need to do as a business is continue to post on social media, because AI mode within Google uses social media sources. I think obviously Reddit is a social media platform that isn't probably, I mean, correct me if, can't correct me if I'm wrong, audience.
I'll correct you if you're wrong.
But like, who do you know that uses Reddit on a daily basis? But Reddit is one of the,
It's such a powerful one, isn't it?
One of the leading sources that Google's AI mode, Gemini, uses for information. I mean, they got themselves, I mean, it's a funny story now, but when you look on it, but you know, there was somebody asked Google's AI mode, what's the best way to stop cheese from falling off a pizza? And it replied with, well, use super glue. And it got that from Reddit.
Yeah.
Which
it shows that it's not just pulling information from what we would consider credible websites.
Yeah.
It's coming from everywhere. And that's where then you think, okay, so crikey, Rich, you've just scared us to death about there's no point doing social media anymore. You've still got to do social media.
You've got to train the robots.
You've got to, because there's a couple of things. One is that people will still look at your social media. You know, obviously we track all the interaction and all the links and the activity and the engagement on websites. And so often people will hit a homepage of a website and they're just as likely to click services or about us or contact us. They'll scroll right down to the bottom of your footer and click your social media links. And I know it's something that, you know, Molly and our team, we work a lot with, because she manages the social media for people, is that often we sort of refer to that as, that's almost like the window or the back door into the business. You've spoken before about your website is your shop window. Of course you're going to say you're the best at what you do on your shop window. You should. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a sneaky look around the side door, and I'm going to have a look in your social media to see what you're posting, how active you are, how relevant you are. So if you've got dormant social media accounts, it's not going to do anything for your genuine trust and authority with people. So people will still seek out your social media, but almost as a validator of what you're doing, which is why you still need to post regularly and still aim for that human connection. So that's a really important point I think we need to make. However, the role of social media then, if we do go through this slightly dystopian AI talking to itself, what's the point if it's just going to be liking your post, is a bit like that Reddit thing that you said. It becomes almost like a content outpost. And it's just it's just an arm of your website.
So what do you mean by content outpost? You've been using this phrase a little bit more.
So I would say in terms of like it's almost like an extension of your website. So we talk about your website training robots, and you got to say who you are, what you do, where you do it, why you do it, who you do it for. You know, make sure that you're really being very clear, and you've got to train these robots every day. And yes, you should be doing that on your website. But if you think your social media is just an extension of your website, you can also do that. So what I mean by your content outposts is, if you've got certain keywords that you're trying to rank for from an SEO or even like a GEO, AIO point of view that you're trying to rank for, or you're trying to reach certain audiences, you're trying to reach certain demographics, you're trying to be known in certain areas, well, that's the content that should be on your social media. And we've been working with this with clients already, actually. When we've said to them, look, we manage your social media for you, and as much as you want to come across as like the fun, approachable business and do all that like behind the scenes, like almost like slightly silly posts,
it's not really that important in B2B, you know, in my view. I think maybe in business to consumer is a little bit more relevant, but and
I get it. Like, people want to say, oh, you know, people are often people, and we want to show that we're approachable and relaxed. And I get it. And people are still going to, like I said, seek out your social media. If they can see that you're a welcoming company, they're probably more likely to engage with you. However, that's not telling the robot anything about what you do. And so, like I said, we've started doing the social media for clients where we'll say, look, not all the posts, but some of the posts we're going to post for you, you're going to think are really boring. It's really quite dry. But what we're doing is it is a content outpost. We're training the robot.
But I mean, a saying that's often get thrown around, you know, in my personal life is that boring golf is
Good golf. Yeah. Let's go with the golf analogy. Just sit at 150 yards down the middle, mate.
Exactly. That's so boring. But when it comes down to kind of growing a business, sometimes like doing those hard yards, posting on social media, this, a similar thing to your website. Those are those hard yards.
Consistent messaging. And I know, we've always talked about like the tone of voice that John does with our clients, and having that plan in place. This is where you really need this plan, because what it will do is, so if you're thinking, okay, Rich, I've heard what you've got to say today, and wow, you've really scared me about the social media thing. I don't know what to post anymore. Well, you've just got to go back to what are your key marketing messages? What are the things, what are the things you want to be known for? Have a content plan, that we do with our clients around blogs. And that is the stuff then that almost gets echoed across your social media, because it does help you then train the robots, and you can talk about these things and start to educate the robots, but educate people. And the almost like the bit of homework for people listening today that I challenge them with is go back over the last 20 posts that you post on any social media platform. And when was the last time you really explicitly said who you are, what you do, and where you do it? I think everybody does that more fun, sociable social media content. But when was the last time you do that? I was speaking to someone last week, and I was saying, what you got to think of is there could be someone out there today that's never heard of you before, doesn't know what you do, and they are going to see the social media post that you post today. That's the first thing they're ever going to see about you and your business. Are they going to know anything about what you do? There's always someone out there that hasn't heard about you. Like most of the world don't know who you are. Sounds really harsh, and don't know what you do. But just think, there'll be people out there today that will see your social media for the very first time. And when was the last time you just really explicitly said who you are, what you do? Some people are good at it on social media. Like the thing that people will do is the allow me to reintroduce myself thing. For new people that have connected, I just want to say a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Do you think we
why
could be like talking about our why in social media as well?
Yeah, I think the why really gets across because it's that storytelling, isn't it? And it really differentiates those 54% of people or 54% of content that's being pumped out by AI at the moment, because it's that differentiator. So you should really get your why in place, because it will make what to post, it'll be a bit easier to do, but tell those stories. But don't forget to say who you are, what you do, where you do it, why you do it. Train those robots, train those humans that have come across you for the very first time about what you should do. And that all comes back to having a consistent marketing plan and a marketing message. And I know, with the new projects that we've launched at QBD recently about like QBD Pulse, it's really helping people get a steer on that, because it is like having one-to-ones. Obviously, we do a lot of networking, and I'll often say, these are referral partners that you can have. AI, Google, LinkedIn, all these social media channels, if they can understand who you are, what you do, why you do it, where you do it, they are going to recommend you to people. As we said earlier on, content nowadays is fed on preference, not people. So it doesn't really matter as much if you follow our post or follow our page, if that makes sense.
Because I'm still going to get in your news.
Because I'm going to get in your feed, or the bubble as we've talked about it. Yeah.
So should I still be spending money on ads then?
Yeah, so ads is an interesting one, because ads is the slightly different thing there, because you are able to absolutely like micro target, zone in on who you're targeting. People don't realise how sophisticated it is. We will, people will think they're being. You will say, "Oh, who's your target audience?" And they'll say small to medium-sized businesses in location, and you think that's really vague. That's really vague because of the targeting you can do. So ads is slightly different, because that content is being, it's a horrible term, but it's almost being forced on people. Your content is then being strategically placed in front of the right people. So, but what you do need is, you can't just run ads and not have the organic social media to back it up, because if I see your ad, I'm just as likely to look at your website, or I am look at your social media feeds. And at the end of it, you've got to train the robots. So you still got to have that core marketing message. And I think that if you could think of it in those terms of, I've got to educate these engines, these discovery engines, as they're calling themselves now, these AI algorithms, about what you do consistently. And I was talking to someone last week that you don't talk about who you are, what you do, where you do it, who you do it for, why you do it enough. So go and do it more. And when you think you're doing it loads, do it 10 times more.
So should we be posting on social media like more and more?
It's not so much the sort of more and more. Obviously, it's the question we often get asked is like, how many times should I be posting? It's really what you've got to post. But at the same time, I appreciate that doesn't help anyone with like looking to get a number at me, and I'm not being a politician.
Well, I suppose you need
with the
to,
answer.
But I suppose when we talk about it from an SEO perspective, like the more articles that you put on your website, the more blogs, the increased chances.
If you posted a blog every day on your website, if you post on social media every day, it would help you. However, I still to this day, and I've been doing social media now, it's been my specialism for nearly like 20 years. I still haven't met one business that could justifiably post every day, because you've got nothing to say. Like you've got to have. There's got to be value in what you're saying. You can't just be salesy. You've got to offer value. You've got to offer content, educational content. And now this sort of training the robots thing is. Yeah, you want to train them what you're doing, but you don't just want to keep blurting out the same generic stuff. So I would still aim at like 3 posts a week, 2, 3, 4 posts a week is probably a healthy run rate. Most people can get to that level. But when you think about, okay, how do we talk about who we are, the different services, what makes us different, our why, the people that we've helped? It's 3 or 4 posts a week in that alone. But it's having that consistency. And the thing that people do miss is that it's the momentum that it builds. And I know, again, coming back to Pulse, when we've been speaking to people about that new product that we've got, is that it's not just about consistency, although consistency is very important. Definitely. It's about building up that momentum and having that thing to say, because I used the term earlier about it sort of echoing across your digital presence. But that's what you've got to do. If you get a pulse plan in place with QBD, we can identify that content plan. We can identify your target audience, what do you want to be known for, and make sure that literally that pulse is being sent out to train these robots, to train these algorithms to be seen by more people. It will work. These discovery engines, I always say, these engines, they want content. I always say, like, these platforms don't really post. It's just a vacuum, and they're just expecting us to fill it. So if you come along and you're posting really good, engaging, relevant, educational content on a regular basis, they're going to love it. Zuckerberg's going to love you. LinkedIn's going to love you for it, because you're providing value that then keeps that other person on their platform. And when we remember that the longer they stay on that platform, the more ads they see, the more money they make. And that's where the whole system works. So if you can be the provider of that content, but yeah, it's something you've got to have a proper strategy for, I think. What I found with the social media thing is, if you just jump straight in and go, right, Richard told me I've got to do it 3 times a week, I'm going to post 3 times a week, without a plan, without that content plan, without that knowing what you're going to do and what you want to say and what are those keywords, what things you're going after, you'll run out of gas and interest in about a month, because you'll just think, you're just in this rat race of like, oh, I've got to post every day, or Richard told me I've got to post 3 times a week and it's Thursday and I don't know what to put. Oh, I know, I'll just put that same thing again, or I'll just get ChatGPT to do it because you're always playing catch up. What you need to know is, and this is obviously what we do with our clients on Pulse plans, is I can tell them what we're going to be talking about for the next 3 months, because we've identified who their target audience is, their tone of voice, and also the things that we want to be known for. So they want to be known as specialists in certain areas of the country or certain sectors to certain professionals. So we've got a plan for that. We've got a plan about what their blogs are going to be, what their emails are going to be, what their social media posts are going to be. We know how we're going to train these robots, but you've got to have that plan. So
moving forward, what should a business do with their social media? What should be the social media strategy for a business moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that probably people are thinking, and they're already therefore making the mistake. So the question shouldn't be, what should your social media strategy be in forwards? Because, as I said, social media has just become part of your marketing strategy. So what I'd say is, you don't need a social media strategy. You need a marketing strategy. You need a content strategy, because what you're saying, not just on your website, but in your emails, in your social media, that is where it comes from. So actually, your social media that's what I mean about that outpost, is you actually need a content strategy, which will then dictate what your social media posting would be. I think by thinking a social media strategy on its own isolates it from the rest of your business, and you've just got to bring it in-house. You've just got to really bring it in and make sure that you're saying the same thing consistently across all your different channels.
Definitely, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with Pulse.
Yeah.
Which obviously we're making quite a lot of noise about it, because what Pulse does, it gives you a strategy that delivers growth. It's not just about content on your website. It's not just about your email marketing. It's not just about your social media. It's giving you that really kind of cohesive, joined up approach that isn't going to be, really expensive for a business. Again, like I say, it delivers growth. That's the aim of Pulse. So I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation we've had today. I mean, we've started today talking about, being social media being dead, but actually it's really evolved. And I guess one of the key takeaways that I'm going to take away from it is that there's so many businesses that are still acting like they're in 2015, but we're in 2025 and soon to be in 2026. So what should we be doing?
It's a good point that you make around. I think still people their social media approach is that still of 10 years ago, and it's totally changed, and it has evolved. It is changing. To go back to what we mentioned earlier about Mark Zuckerberg, he's come out a lot recently, had a lot of comments and opinions around these sorts of things, and he said it is evolving. The way the feeds are working. So you need to change as well. Your business needs to change its approach to social media if you wanna get right. And it's not to be afraid of. You're not to be scared of. There's people like ourselves out there to help you. That yes, these algorithms are changing the content you consume and what you see, but if you do it right, they can be a tool. They can be an asset to your business. They can be a referral partner to your business 100%. If you really nail it. And so this is the opportunity to get on board. The thing that really got me when I started looking at this is, obviously as a business, it was almost a few years ago now that we really started waving the flag about how AI was going to change search. And our boss Paul said a lot about that, and everything that we said about how AI was going to change search and change traffic to your websites has come to fruition. Everything we was telling businesses 18 months ago is now in place, and those that listened to us back then are reaping the benefits. They're doing really, really well. Definitely. We've got loads and loads of stories about how businesses are benefiting from this new AI world in search. We're at that same point now with social media. So we're saying, we've got the track record to show that we were right about that. We're right about this. And if you can get on board with it. But I think the thing that's happening, what I've learned from that AI thing and how it changed search is, now's the time to get on board with it, because otherwise you're going to miss the boat. So if you get on board early, get the robots inside, use them as tools, start training them about what you do, they can really help promote your business. If you dwell on it and think, oh no, I'll give it another 6 months without what we're doing, it'll be gone, and you'll be so far behind you won't catch up. So it's a really good time to look at what you're doing, because you can make those big changes that can make a real big difference to your marketing long term. So
this could be really scary for some businesses. So can you give us 3 action points that they could take away from today's conversation?
Well, I think there's probably 3 things that businesses can do to make sure that they do address this. Number 1 is, don't bury your head in the sand. This stuff is changing. Don't just keep doing what you're doing. Don't have the same approach you've had to social media, as you said, for the last 10 years. It ain't going to work, because you're either wasting your time or you're wasting your money. So don't bury your head in the sand about it, is number 1. Number 2 is then really think about your business, your why, as we talk about your who, what, where, why, those things of okay, what is it as a business we want to get across? And then the third thing is then how do we get across that through our social media platforms? And it is complicated. So the term I think I'll use is, don't try this at home. You can go out and do it yourself a bit, but we can help you, or get a specialist to help you identify what are those key messages you want to be getting across, and what platforms, what robots are best to align yourselves to. So don't bury your head in the sand is number 1. Think about what your core messaging and marketing should be, and you can get some support with that. And 3, don't try this at home, because you've got to put the right things in place, and now to measure it to know if it's working or not.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It's been a brilliant conversation today.
So this has been great, Liam, to go through and sort of chat back and forth about how social media is changing and what it means for businesses. We mentioned a lot about Pulse. So how can people find out more about our Pulse plans?
Well, simply click the link in the show notes, go to qbd.co.uk/Pulse. everything you need to know about is there. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. We know that a lot of you, the listeners, are local. Reach out to us in networking. Let's have that one-to-one. It often just starts with a conversation. We're not scary people. We love having the conversations and adding as much value as we can. So yeah, just reach out to us. You can book a call through the website as well. So yeah, thank you. It's been brilliant.
Thanks again to Liam today for joining us. It's been brilliant to talk to you about social media and how it's evolved and what businesses need to do to stay visible. If you want to see how all this works in practice, visit qbd.co.uk/pulse to learn more about our ongoing marketing programs, where we will help you build consistent visibility across search, social, and on your own website. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast so others can enjoy our content on digital marketing. I look forward to seeing you again on the QBD podcast, the Marketing PowWow.
The QBD podcast.
Marketing PowWow.